The world seems like it's come to a halt in 2020, and any forward progress we make as a church, as a family, as a household, as a city seems to be getting constant pushback from just terrible things happening. But despite everything in our world coming to a halt, the tech industry is still moving forward. We've got new releases, new launches, new vision, new plans. What do we need to focus on? Where can we get the biggest return for our buck and our attention? We're talking about that today. We're talking about TikTok, Apple on ARM, status update on back order. Should you wait for the A10 mini or should you go ahead and get something else? We're talking about Zoom. And if we got some time, we'll talk about some random fun stuff as well. All that today on the Church Media Guys show. I did an intro, but that's fine too. What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin, one half of the Church Media Guys. We're here
You're
to help
actually one third now.
1/3?
You're
Oh,
1/3. You're not one half.
Math is hard.
Math is really hard.
All right, so let me just start that again.
That's
What's going on, guys? My name is Justin, and I am 1/3 of the Church Media Guys. We're here to help you and your church and your leaders use and exploit technology to further your mission, further the gospel to your city and to the world. With me, or I should say, I am with, as always, Dave Curley, the original, the OG, the founder of founders of Church Training Academy and Church Media Guys. Dave, how's it going?
dandy.
Dandy Dave. And
Yes, I got all my
side
ranting.
of me-
I got all my ranting out in the pre-show.
On the other side of me is Bill, Mr. Bill Jones, rocking it with the American flag sunglasses. Is America's future so bright? You just got to get those glasses on. What's the deal? Why
That's
we got
right.
glasses now, Bill?
America's future is so bright I have to wear shades. No,
Today
bro,
we're
it's
talking
because
about,
these bright lights you guys make me use. I have to wear shades.
I know it's the worst. It's the worst. Today we're talking
Mono.
about church, the tech news and how it relates to your church. Like I said in the beginning, despite us staying at home and seeming to be real stagnant, the tech industry is continuing to move forward, and that's kind of the great thing about technology is that people can still create while they're in their home, and these big businesses can still create while they're at home and working remote and working with minimal people in the facilities. And so we've got some news that's come out over the summer. We try to do this once a quarter where we kind of compile the biggest news stories of the quarter and just give you some insight on what this means for you, because we have some people that say this is happening and we say that's not that big of a deal, or that's too expensive, or it doesn't do what you think it's going to do. And then we have other news stories that seem to be buried, like no one in the church media space is talking about Apple on ARM and what that means for the church going forward, and especially the smaller churches. So I'm really excited to talk about that. So we've got some topics to talk about today. Like I said, we're talking about TikTok, Apple, Zoom, some new tech gear that's coming out. Question of the day, let us know in the chat wherever you're watching. What piece of tech news are you most excited about? We want to make sure that you guys have the proper stuff on your radar and that you're, paying attention to what's happening so you can get stuff when it's the cheapest, when it's working the best, and when it's the most relevant to help you the most. Yesterday, I sent out an email to our email list, and I got a lot of responses back. Surprisingly, people want to know about TikTok. TikTok, the president and a lot of members of the government want to ban TikTok. Have you guys heard about this?
First off, I want to see who is actually saying that they want to ban it, because to my knowledge, the president hasn't come out in a press conference going, "We're going to ban TikTok." I haven't heard that.
Ooh, that was pretty good, Dave.
Thank you. And I haven't heard him say that. So anytime anybody, and unfortunately I've become a cynic about this, and rightfully so. See the pre-show. Anytime anybody comes out and goes, the Trump administration wants to ban TikTok, I got to look at where that is coming from, because so many media outlets are just making crap up, literally making crap up. They're saying, the Trump administration the Trump administration wants to kill all puppies. And then they put it out there and everybody yells and screams about it. And then the Trump administration makes a thing. We love puppies. We would never want to kill puppies or ruin people's ability to have puppies in their household. And then somebody gets fired from the New York Times or whatever, for saying it, because they just completely made it up.
Yeah, that's a dream world that they would get fired. But no, this comes from a Fox News interview from July 6th. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo speaking on behalf of the president.
Sure.
So I mean, you could say it's coming from the cabinet, but
Sure,
just as the press secretary speaks for the president, I think we can say that this is coming from the president. Basically, it's a concern because this is a large social networking app that is collecting data on Americans on a what used to be unprecedented scale. I will get to that in a second. And basically, the issue is, and I do kind of have a philosophical problem with this about picking and choosing. The issue is that China is kind of our competition right now, whether you agree with it or not. I believe, especially, and I think a lot of the government believes, especially in the intelligence space, putting on my tinfoil hat, World War III is going to not be fought on the ground. It's going to be fought online. It's going to be fought with information. And the more information the Chinese government has, that's basically the more ground they have to fight us if the world ever comes to that. We
Justin,
already see that.
Why would that be an issue with TikTok?
So thank you for getting me back on path. So
See, I'm not the only one who goes down rabbit holes. I'm not the only one.
No, I'm just saying. I'm
one.
reading the articles that Justin's reading. There's a great one on CNET right now, and Justin's going to tell us why it's an issue with TikTok and all this.
Right.
So it's an issue with TikTok in that it's a bit of a Trojan horse. So again, I'm going to get to how they do this, but basically the government and the American people, as being represented by the government, supposed to be, has no control over what data China gets.
Right.
It's not like Facebook and Google. Facebook and Google and all these other social media places, they get just as much data as TikTok, but essentially the government can just get it whenever they want. They can request it, they can warrant for it, they can do whatever they want to get this data. They cannot get it from China the same way they would from here. So that's a problem. Also, it's in the wrong hands. What TikTok has become is basically a way for China to get their app on all these phones and basically harvest location data, basically big data, location, likes, even stuff like, we had anything that's coming from your camera when you're filming camera stuff. Facial recognition can be built off the data they're getting, and we could get into some issues with the what do you call it, deep fake stuff. It can be an issue. And then, of course, they can also track our movements and everything and figure out where people are congregating. This has always been a big issue, especially in the military, because you don't want foreign intelligence to know where your military personnel are.
Right.
That could be a very dangerous thing.
Right.
Now,
or where a mass congregation of people are. If you want to target Christians, look, there's a whole bunch of TikTok users who are sending location data from AT&T Stadium. Because because there's a evangelical thing going on. Okay, great. We can do something now with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's already banned. And it is important to note that it is already banned on all military service people's devices.
Yeah.
They cannot install
TikTok.
The
issue again is we just don't have access to the source code or how much information they're collecting. This was then brought to another level when iOS 14 beta came out. Now, iOS has a new feature where if an app is trying to access your data outside of itself, then it will alert you. And people are getting new alerts saying TikTok's trying to read what's on your clipboard. TikTok's trying to do this stuff. Now, here's
actually, they're not the only one. We're getting that with several different
that's
apps.
What I was getting. So I was getting that. But they are one of them. So it's kind of like, again, we just don't know what kind of data, how it's being housed, and then again, how it's going to be used and exploited. That's kind of a big deal. Now, as far as we're copying your clipboard, we're copying your data, we're copying everyone does that. LinkedIn basically got the same number of dings as TikTok, and LinkedIn's a professional social networking thing. That's kind of where the concern is coming from. So will it be banned? Here's the deal, guys. If it gets banned, they're just going to figure out why. They're probably going to fix it up, wrap it up, and then try to get it back into market, because this is, again, a huge deal. The other huge deal, too, that we also have to consider being a world, obviously we believe here at Church Media Guys, America #1, but we can also take cues from the world. China and India are at extreme what's the word?
Opposites?
They're fighting each other.
They're at odds
fighting
with
each
each
other.
other.
They're at
extreme
odds.
odds with
That's
each
what I
other.
was looking
Sure.
for. They're at
Right.
odds with each other,
Right.
especially sharing the border they do.
Yeah.
India, as soon as it got a whiff of what China data collecting they might be doing,
Mm-hmm.
India as a whole country banned. I mean, think about that. 1/7 of the world banned from TikTok.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact
That's a
that another
continent.
320 million could be potentially banned, I mean, is again a big deal. So, will it be banned? I don't know. I really don't think so. And if it does get banned, they're just going to reiterate something else, or they're going to make changes, and they're going to continue doing what they're doing. What do you guys think as far as about the banning? We'll talk about alternatives. What might come next?
I'm never big on necessarily banning anything. It is interesting that you're raising a whole generation that's seen TikTok as just a normal thing on their phones. And they're not really worried about security because they're, 10 foot tall and bulletproof because they're under 18 years of age.
Yes, and we are an entertainment-based society.
Exactly.
At
And
all
so
costs.
my whole main concern is that they're not going to have any security features turned on. They're going to ignore their alerts. And then, let's just say they continue to be a TikTok user and TikTok continues to grow and it's 5 years later. And all that information has been given to whomever for free. And there's no, like Justin said, there's no clear path as to what is really happening because we're not really getting the full story from a government that has never given the full story on anything.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I think you got to keep investigating it. You got to keep having conversations about it. I'm not keen on necessarily banning it, but at the same time, I'm a big proponent on U.S. security.
Right.
So,
I think there's I think when it comes to a lot of the social media stuff, TikTok being the most recent purveyor of this lifestyle, we are conditioning ourselves and we are conditioning our children with the idea that privacy is not important, and that actually extends to one of our absolute core values in our country, which is property is sacred. That my property belongs to me, and I should be able to protect it. And I should be secure, in my home. I should be secure in my car. I should be secure on my land. If I want to dig a well on my land, I dig a well. If I want to raise chickens, I raise chickens. It's my land, my property. I make the rules. So getting everybody used to, I remember Sergey Brin, I think it was, that said that privacy is outdated or something like that. Some statement maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I wish I could remember what the exact statement was, but it was basically saying, look, privacy is a myth, so just get used to it. And I think the larger picture is that we're getting people used to the idea of not having any privacy, and then we're opening them up because they're not vigilant about it. We're opening them up to private attack, which means identity theft and all the horrors that come with identity theft. Something could be really minor, something could be really, really major. And then that goes even further. You brought it up, Justin, the idea of deep faking. That technology is accessible on our phones. It's something fun to play with. It's a joke, okay, to play with it, okay? That is one thing, okay? The problem is that technology has actually been working for a long time. The same misgivings that I have about having a digital copy of my signature, which my digital signature is different than my actual signature. And anytime I go and, I have a JPEG, that of my signature that I can throw onto a PDF or something. There is something unique about that is different than when I start and scribble my signature on a regular piece of paper. So I'll be able to say that is my digital signature, and I did not apply that to this document. The idea that we can ultimately change something and then the person who has been victimized can't provide any proof because their privacy is not intact, and we've been able to basically forge behavior and attribute it to them. There's this downward spiral that can happen. And I understand that TikTok and all these other companies, they want to gather demographic data and user data and stuff like that. I got no problem with that. Look, you randomize all that sort of stuff and don't tie it to an actual account, and then can build, advertising models and whatever else that can help your business grow. I don't have a problem with stuff like that, but I do have a problem with a country that has shown itself to disappear people who disagree with it at one level.
They have a human rights record that's atrocious.
Yeah, they do. And so we're playing with their toys. Buying lights from a company in Japan, or excuse me, China, buying lights from them or buying our cameras from them or something like that, that's one thing. But when we're doing something, when we're engaging with them at such a tight level on our phone with all of our other stuff, I use a password, warehousing and generation app, across various platforms and stuff. So if TikTok can see what's going on my clipboard, and this one app didn't autofill a password, it just, or when it autofills, does it use the clipboard? Does it send it to the clipboard and then automatically throw it in there? However stuff like that works, if I just need to copy it and then go over and paste it in or something like that, now all of a sudden, they have another piece of data that is tied to this account, and they can extrapolate that across some of the other accounts. I just don't think it's wise. Okay. And I look at it from a practical standpoint too. What value do we get from TikTok?
Right.
I get a lot of value, but that's just me.
Well, okay. But so that entertainment value, okay, yes. There's definitely something to that. There's some funny stuff on there. I got no problem with that. But at what cost?
Right. And this is the argument, this goes outside of our scope. That we have to fight, quote, my generation, okay? So I'm going to say this real quick. We don't have time to talk about it because it's outside the scope. But a lot of people in our generation, we know that our social security numbers, our credit card numbers, and our passwords, they're out there on the dark web. You can find it, no problem. You can even get my IP address through several sources if you just know where to look. And with that, then you can get where the credit card came from. You get my address. You can get you can get your information. I can get your information, Bill. If you know where to look, some places you don't have to go to the dark web. You can get on Google. So our thing is, it's almost security through just everyone's information is out there. So you have 1 in 300 million chance to pull my stuff or identity theft. And that's a mindset issue, and I don't agree with it. But that's where my generation's coming from. On the flip side, they apply that then to international stuff. Well, my information's everywhere. If China wanted to get it, they could easily get it. So what difference does it make if they get it through TikTok?
Right.
Now, like you said, and like I said, kind of the next World War III, if there is going to be one, it's going to be fought on information. We already see this. We already see this right now in almost a Civil War 2.0. The greatest way to defeat a country is to divide itself. And if TikTok knows all the data about us, and it knows, well, this person on this IP address in this household watches a lot of this, and according to the census data, they're married. So what if we somehow got the wife to know that her husband's watching a lot of half-naked chicks on TikTok, and we know when she steps out of the house because she's watching TikTok at work, and that happens to be when he watches all the swimsuit ladies on TikTok at home when she's what a great way to just, all right, let's just tear the country down. And I'm sure there's an AI that can figure all that out in just a few days.
Yeah.
And just watch us just.
Well, now you have leverage. You have leverage. You have leverage on individual people.
The short version of what I was trying to say. So yeah, so that can be a problem. I'm an optimist though. When Zoom had all those issues, I said, you know what? I think they're going to fix it, and I think they've shown that they have fixed it. And I know it's almost sacrilegious. It's it's unpatriotic to say China's probably going to fix this. But if we do ban, I think the fixing will only come from serious threat of banning TikTok. I think they can fix some of that, or maybe share some stuff. The other issue you're going to have is if they do ban TikTok, guess what? Teens and young people, we're really good at VPNs now. You know, it used to be a big deal when I was in school, and I know I had internet when I was in school past 5th grade. But you know, it was go to this browser VPN, and now you can get to any site on the school network. Our teens, unfortunately, will figure that stuff out, and China's going to get most of the data anyways. They just won't get geographic data, but they'll still get a lot of the data they need, and teens and everyone's just going to VPN into Mexico or Germany or something like that to continue TikToking. Let's talk about alternatives. Instagram is working on, / Facebook is working on a TikTok alternative called Reels. I'm sure someone else is working on their own version of TikTok. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think Instagram was able to successfully steal stories, but I don't think they're going to really steal anything else. I think Reels is not going to take off. I don't think anyone's going to adopt it. We're just going to outcry for TikTok. Vine itself didn't work.
Isn't TikTok a growth out of Vine?
No, it was made out of Musical.ly.
Oh, Musical.ly, that's what it was. Yeah. The
reason, and this is the thing. The reason that TikTok works so well is because the algorithm is on point, right? Credit where credit is due. TikTok has the best algorithm. I think when you start up, it's getting some information about you, so it knows, okay, I'm in Houston. It's going to start serving me Houston stuff. It happens to serve me a Houston marching band video, and I like it. So now it knows I like music stuff. So then it's showing me music stuff, and it shows me a trombone video. I play trombone, and I like it. Now it knows that I know trombone stuff. Well, what does all other trombonists like? Well, they're all nerds. They all like comic book stuff. So it starts showing me comic book stuff. It starts to notice that I like Marvel stuff more than DC. Well, who owns Marvel? Disney. So now it's showing me Disney stuff. And within a matter of a few days, I mean, I have a seriously personalized TikTok that I do not get anywhere else. They've also unlocked discovery. Instagram, you have kind of a discovery tab. Facebook, there really is no discovery beyond a recommendation engine. Kind of the same with YouTube. You have kind of a recommendation engine, but you can't autoplay stuff. And that's the thing, is that TikTok For You page, you'll hear it called the For You page, is all content that you've never seen before, by people you don't follow, by people that you don't know. But the algorithm has nailed you down so well. Some days you'll spend more time on the For You page than your own personal followers, because it can be that entertaining and educating. And if I just go through my For You page, you'll see stuff on technology. You'll see stuff on conservative news. You'll see stuff on libertarian news. You'll see band stuff. You'll see comic book stuff. Mm-hmm. You'll see Christian stuff. You'll see comedic stuff. All stuff that if anyone else picked up my phone, they would say, this is obviously not for me. Even my best friends would be like, nah, I don't like all this stuff. And if I picked up their phones, it would not look like my For You page.
Right.
So, you know, YouTube is kind of it's a little bit better than YouTube, but the key is that it's just, it auto plays, and everything is so short. You can spend an hour on TikTok without recognizing it, because you don't realize you're watching 30 minutes of video. You're just watching 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and it adds up. And Instagram and Facebook, I just don't see them having an algorithm that good. They have not unlocked it.
Well, okay.
That transitions to something else, guys.
Well, hang on. Hang on. Let me correct something. YouTube does have autoplay, because it will it will play the next video. It'll play the next recommended video.
Yes,
and it could be further down that
YouTube,
string.
I have to click something to play.
Right.
And if I don't like a video, if I say, no, this isn't for me, I don't click the fast forward button. I go back to another menu, or I scroll down to look at the recommended videos, and I still have to click something.
Right.
The
God forbid you do any work.
Is not this on TikTok. Yeah. I don't like, oh, this looks good. I'm not skipping. I'm going back and I'm looking at a bunch of thumbnails to figure out what to watch.
But what Justin is talking about is another part of all this that we've been conversating on for the past several years, and that's technology addiction. Mm-hmm. So Justin just said, I can be on TikTok for 30 minutes and not even realize it. That's not unintentional.
Right.
That's very
It's also not healthy.
The fact
unless
that
it's a church media show.
The fact that his algorithm works so well is all about making you want to be on TikTok more. It's all psychological.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are firms
dopamine hit
in Silicon Valley that make tons of money, and they probably have worked with China
Mm-hmm.
and TikTok to make this even more addictive than it already is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
TikTok is definitely standing on the shoulders of giants. You
Yes.
know, there's something there, and I don't. AJ is a fellow trombone player in the chat. Yes, sir. There's something there. You know, the algorithm encourages engagement and that dopamine hit on Facebook and Instagram, from what I've seen, through outrage and enragement. TikTok is almost the opposite, right? On Facebook, you get served stuff from your best friends that say something that you would have never thought they would have said,
Mhm.
or that they have cancer. Sometimes you'll get like a wedding or a baby birth post or something like that.
Right.
But there's a lot of controversy, and that's what the Facebook and Instagram algorithm is serving up first. So you get that dopamine hit from controversy. On TikTok, like I said, I get, for example, great example right now, politics. I get a lot of right-leaning politics on my For You page. I don't get any left stuff. I don't get any liberal stuff, even though I would like to see it, because I like to see all sides. I like to read one side and then another side. I'm just a masochist that way, I guess. But I do not get any of that. On TikTok, it's all feel-good dopamine.
Right.
There's not a lot of enragement. And if it is enragement, it's that one-sided, like, oh yeah, those other people are so stupid, but I don't know who it is, because it's not someone posting it. It's just someone talking about someone else. It's a different kind of dopamine hit. And that's why a lot of people, they watch TikTok, and this is just allegory. They watch TikTok and they come away feeling better. Whereas on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we call it doom scrolling, because the more you scroll, the more you engage, the worse you feel about the world.
Mm-hmm.
But TikTok is, you kind of feel a little bit better about the world because you laughed, you learned, you were encouraged. But again, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my TikTok algorithm.
No, there's something there's something to that. Facebook has become Facebook has become more doom scrolling because we have allowed it to, because we are engaging. It doesn't matter, and the YouTube algorithm is the same as well in these respects, that it doesn't look at a good engagement versus a bad engagement.
Yeah.
It doesn't look at a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It doesn't look at a comment that says, "You suck, I hate you," or "This is the best video I've ever seen." What it looks at is up or down was clicked, which means they engaged with it. They interacted with
Right.
it, and they left a comment. So in doing that, that sends a signal that this is something that this person has engaged in. Let's see if we can find some common attributes from some other things that this person has engaged in, and serve them up something that they're more likely to engage in the future, to extend that viewing session. So over on Facebook, it's the same idea. If I don't, even though my wife and I are married, in a relationship, married, since whatever, if I don't engage with her posts, I'm not going to see very many things, unless something that she has is something that is directly related to me. Like, we both have pictures of our daughters. So if she posts something of her daughter, and that happens to be my daughter, then I may be able to see that. But if I don't like and comment on her posts, they're not going to show up near as much. If I like and comment or engage in one way or the other AOC's post, then I'm going to start seeing a whole bunch of stuff from her, because it's telling the algorithm. And my engagements with her could be, I disagree with you 100%, and I hope someone beats you in the next election. And then I do that to Nancy Pelosi, and then I do that to whoever else, and then all of a sudden, I am being negative in my attitude, saying I don't like this person, but I'm engaging with the post.
And all your friends, Facebook friends, not even so much closer, all your Facebook friends then that are posting about AOC and Nancy and Biden and whatever, now they're on your feed.
Exactly.
And the stuff that you actually care about that would be quote unquote beneficial, enriched your life, is no longer to be found, because you want, Facebook wants you to engage with that stuff.
Right. And you
Chris
can fix
made a good
it, folks,
point,
by the way. You can,
in the
you
chat,
can fix
he said, Go ahead, Dave.
I was say you can fix it. You're completely in charge, believe it or not, with what you. So one way to make Facebook more positive is to only engage in the things that you want to see. So if you see a post by AOC and then you make a negative comment to it, you've hurt yourself. You've not hurt her. Okay. you're not sticking it to her. You're actually helping her and helping her page and helping her message get out more. If you want to see more Church Media Guys stuff, then when we post something, you should like it and leave a comment. This is awesome. This is horrible. You guys are idiots. Whatever. Regardless, you will then start seeing more things. If you want to engage with me more on it and get more positive stuff from me or Justin or Bill, then engage with us and you'll start getting more stuff. Even if it's your cousin and you love your cousin and you're having an argument on Facebook, then more negative stuff surrounding what you and your cousin are talking about will end up showing up on you. So you are in charge. You can customize your Facebook experience. You already have.
And not only that, because you can't just sit there and read articles and read posts and then not engage and think you won't ever get it again. Just like YouTube and TikTok are monitoring watch time, Facebook is also monitoring read time. So don't think that you can sit there and read a 3-paragraph story and then you're like, I'm not going to comment because I don't want to see this ever again. You read it. Facebook knows you read it. They're going to serve it more to you.
Heat mapping.
So,
yeah, it's heat mapping.
Exactly. So you have to also be aware of just how much time on what you're spending on. Chris made a good point. Algorithm is based on data. The more data, the better the algorithm.
Yep.
TikTok, universally recognized by everyone that's a social media expert, not me, but everyone claims that TikTok has the best algorithm. It's the reason why they exploded so quickly. So Chris said, video game addiction finally got added to psychological disorders. So it's a matter of time that cell phone addictions get added as well. I thought they already were. I thought that was a thing. By the way, you ever want to feel bad about yourself, go check your screen time analytics.
Well, and the reason why I brought that up, guys, is because because I do live in the world of digital marketing quite a bit. I get paid to do it extensively for very large brands. And the fact of the matter is that if Facebook is going to come to us as digital marketers and tell us that they can sell us data that will tell us when someone is emotionally engaged in something, that they can determine emotional engagement, not just whether or not you commented, but literally what your emotional reaction was to something, that they can give you that data. They can sell us that data so that we can use that as a marketing device. Please believe me that, all this, the addiction, the data, the algorithms, they're all intertwined. So it's not about being, hey, let's go wear 10 hats and live in the country. Oh, wait, I do live in the country. But
and
anyways,
I've seen your hats.
It's it's about just being informed and recognizing what's going on, and not just being a unconscious participant in the reality of the scenario that everyone's trying to make money off of you.
Yeah, don't be a cipher.
And knowledge is power. The more knowledge they have on you as a subject in their algorithm, the better chance they have of serving you an ad that all these things interact and impact. Because you know what? And you guys might say, well, why are we talking about this on Church Media Guys? Well, because you know what? All your parishioners are in the same boat. They're all on smartphones. They're all being impacted by this stuff. You're going to have someone that you're going to counsel that has either, one of these things as an addiction. The more you know, the more you can help. Even if you're like, for those of you involved in youth ministry, you should have a very active, updated, almost every week guide on how you can help parents help their teenagers deal with media, and not just. And we're not talking about just social media, but media on TV, media and music, all those sorts of things. How do you use your phone appropriately so that you don't become a statistic? Because I can share with you story after story of child gets phone taken away. Child literally has a mental breakdown and has to be hospitalized because they couldn't handle it. So yeah, all great information. And, the whole China thing's still kind of spooky though.
Absolutely.
Okay, have we beat this horse?
We may disagree on this, but again, we haven't really talked a lot about TikTok, but the thing that I have said, and I'll keep saying as a church, granted, after all we've talked about, the ball's in your court. I think as church leaders, if we want to reach teens of today and reach
Yeah.
them most effectively, TikTok is the best social network because again, it's local. Just the fact that I live in Houston, if I start making TikToks, probably I'm making up this number, but I know majority, say 60-70% of the people that are going to see my stuff will be in my area because it knows that I'm here. Just I naturally get Houston, Texas TikTok creators just popping up on my feed because that's where I am. And that has been reported across the country. TikTok serves local stuff. Okay.
Right.
So, and then you will also, a topical TikTok reads your captions. And if you talk about depression, guess what? It's going to serve videos to other people that are watching stuff about depression. So you can be the guiding light, the truth, capital T, to people that are stuck in a depression. And TikTok's going to serve it to them, to the correct audience that needs to see it, not just your church where you might have 1 or 2 people that need to hear the message, but also 1 million people around your area or in your state or in your country that need to see that message because the TikTok algorithm is so good. So I don't know if you need to be creating anything right now. You definitely don't need to be creating if you're not consuming. So I still recommend you need to consume TikTok for a month before you even think about creating stuff. When you do that as well, you'll start, the algorithm will eventually get you on other youth pastors, other speakers. Pastor Locke is on TikTok now, and he's doing a lot of stuff. A lot of people like what he does on Facebook and the YouTube videos he does. So everyone's on there, or at least every niche is pretty much represented on there. You can see what they're doing to success. You can see how the platform is supposed to be done, right? Some people can sit there and talk. Some people have to use jump cuts. Some people have to use dancing. You'll see the different memes with the pointing and the different, ways that we use music to enhance the content. You just can't sit there and talk like a YouTube video or maybe even like we're doing now. You need to use the medium and use the memes of the medium to communicate your message if you really want people to connect. So if I understand the concern, and if you don't want to get on TikTok because you're concerned of the security, I'm not going to hold that against you. If you think it's worth it to continue to investigate it as the platform to reach the people that need Christ a lot right now, especially as the world tears them apart, in the worldview of the world is it, TikTok I think is the best place to be right now because of the algorithm, because of the For You page. It's so easy to get 1,000 views and a bunch of likes and people paying attention to you for nothing. I mean, literally 15 minutes of your time.
Right.
So if you want to do that, then just consume. That's all you have to do right now. Just consume. Don't start making stuff. Just consume. And then you'll start getting ideas about, oh, okay, I could do this to promote this. And when I say promote, I'm not talking about your church events. I'm talking about an idea, a truth, a biblical theology, whatever. We got to move on.
Let's talk
Chris,
about Apple.
Whoops. I accidentally opened up my Zoom.
We got
Hopefully
a
it doesn't mess up my camera.
couple of follow-up
Yeah,
questions.
I want to answer this question because Dwight is one of our newest CCA insiders, and he could not make the mastermind last night. He emailed me as the show began. So he does have a quick question, Dave, that we've been talking about in mastermind. So I want to give some feedback to Dwight since he couldn't make it last night.
Okay.
He asked, what are your thoughts on using a DAW, that's a Dante, right? To process live audio and then back in
digital audio workstation. So basically using Logic Pro and having, say, like a Dante interface between your digital mixer and, say, a Mac running Logic Pro and just bringing in all the channels and using that as the source for your live stream. And I think that is fine if you are moded like that. One of the things that's great is that, or something like that, where there's a major production going on. This is kind of a big deal, and we want to have this for posterity. Then that gives you the chance to really fine tune your edit for the DVD or the video you're going to put on YouTube or whatever. So that's really cool. If you're moded for that, and if you're used to working with a digital audio workstation, it's not going to be a problem. For me, I really am a hands-on person, so I want to be able to put my hands on a mixing console. I don't even want to use an iPad. I want to have sliders that I can, while I'm doing the live stream, if something is going on, I can sit there and have my fingers on in order to like make these little fine-tune adjustments versus squinting at a screen and looking with my mouse and finding the thing. There are interfaces that'll let you do that. There are USB interfaces that you can control logic with and all that, that motorized sliders and the works and stuff. So you can put all that sort of stuff in place. And there's no reason why you can't do it. You're really going to need to have someone who's dedicated.
It's Apple making their own chips.
Mm-hmm.
So
these are the chips that are already
a better chip, and then it has all sorts of problems. I think this is part of Apple's reason why they're moving away from Intel quality control. I also think that Apple's just they've been working on their own chip in the background. Probably this has been a years long in the process move, and they started on their own devices, and now they're seeing their success there, and they want to move into the iMacs, the MacBook Pros, the Mac Airs, all those, and so I see it as just Apple being Apple. Apple always wants to have quality control be their number one thing, quality control and design. They love their closed environments, and it's a make sense move to me if they feel like they have the ability to make better chips than what they're getting from Intel.
So Intel has had problems over the last few years with their chips. They've had various little issues and things.
Yes.
As evidenced by the fact that some of the quote unquote equivalent AMD Ryzen chips that are spec'd the same as an Intel, say a Ryzen, I don't know their numbering, but a Ryzen something that would be the equivalent of an i7 9th generation chip. Would the Ryzen actually would outperform under certain circumstances to sometimes a great degree than the Intel would. So the ARM chips have actually been around for a long time. The iOS devices has an A10 or A9 Bionic, A10 Bionic, A12, A14, whatever. That A is ARM. That's the chips that they're putting in these things, and
right.
Our Chromebooks, a lot of our Chromebooks, if you're using Chromebooks, if you've been using Chromebooks for the past 5-6 years, a lot of those Chromebooks are using ARM chips, and they're very efficient. They're very powerful. That's why your Chromebook, if you don't buy an Intel, if you buy an ARM-based Chromebook, you can get 12 hours of battery life, and that's like watching Netflix videos, It's pretty cool. They don't have the heat issues. They do have performance, a lot of really good performance. They don't have heat issues like Intel does. So you're able to get a smaller form factor. That's why your iPad doesn't just explode with heat, but you can.
This guy right here, Dave.
What's that?
Has been sitting in my drawer for 3 years because of heat issues.
Yes.
It blew up
So
my
you should
logic
take it
board.
out of the
This is
drawer.
a $3,000 paperweight.
Yes.
Oh man.
This
Yeah,
is the
I
original MacBook Pro Retina, and heat issues
Yes.
caused by the chip
Right.
melted the
And
logic
bad
board in
thermals.
it.
Bad thermal.
I have melted 2 logic boards since 2008 on
Yeah.
Mac laptops.
Yep. So moving to an ARM gives them the ability to do a couple of different things. Guys, if y'all have an iPad Pro, there are a lot of people that are starting to use, the 10 or the 12-inch, whatever the big size is. They're starting to use their iPad Pros with, say, like the Logitech keyboard for a sub notebook, a laptop, an Elite Book, whatever you want to call it, ultra portable. I know people that are doing their YouTube videos and their video production and stuff, doing all their editing, doing their creative, doing their photo work using Affinity and stuff like. They're using this to be their daily driver that can accomplish a whole lot of stuff for them. And so much so that Apple has fixed it so that you can plug in a USB drive, and there's your external storage. You may have a 128 Mac or iPad Pro, and then you've got a 4 terabyte SSD connected to it that's holding all of your video data and stuff like that. And it's thin, it's light, it's capable, so people are able to do that. There's a lot of people that still want a little bit larger form factor and a little bit more robustness and the flexibility that a laptop gives. There are definite benefits to having a full-fledged quote-unquote laptop. And so it makes sense for Apple to try to unify things across. They're going to simplify their platform. MacBook Air is going away. MacBook Pro is going away. MacBook is going away. It is just going to be MacBook. So you're going to get the Pro specs and all that sort of stuff, but it's going to be the single device, maybe a couple of different sizes, 16-inch, 13-inch, whatever. But you're not going to be having like the Air version or anything. You're going to have your iPads, your iPad Pros, your iPad Mini, your MacBook, and then your Mac Pro and your iMac. And that's it.
Dave?
Yeah.
This being the case, when should I buy my next laptop from Apple?
I wouldn't anymore. That's me personally. And the reason...
But if I wanted to.
If you wanted to...
I'll answer that question for you, Bill.
I would get the 16 and stay there.
That's a really good question. So, first of all, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. The Apple ARM chips are going to be 64-bit only, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So we see this right now already. If you've upgraded to Catalina, you'll notice your older 32-bit software is either not going to run or it's going to run with an error.
Right.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly why. Like, I know I play a game called Tabletop Simulator. When I
Here we
open
go
it in
again.
Catalina, it gives me an error. This is a 32-bit program. It's probably not going to run well.
Right.
But if I open some really older open source software like MPEG Streamclip or Levelator or some of the other software tools that we use, I can't open them at all.
Right.
They just won't open for anyone for any reason. And
Well,
that's really
always been
an
Apple, though, right?
That's really an artificial barrier. Again, now that we live in the future and hindsight is 2020, that's an artificial barrier to get people moving over and get developers
Yes.
reprogramming their stuff for ARM that it's only going to be 64-bit. So the first question is your software ready to move to 64-bit only? If you're
Right.
still relying like I am, because I'm too lazy to learn how to actually audio mix, I still use tools like Levelator to do the 80% heavy lifting for myself because I'm lazy that way. And I know Dave is just rolling his eyes in the back of his head. That's a problem. So, if you're using old QuickBooks Mac software, and it might not run. So you might not want to be running out to get Apple
Right.
ARM stuff. The decision, though, I would say this. Like me, I have a 2017 iMac. I have a 2019 MacBook. Maybe it might be 18. I can't remember. But it was an early 2019 MacBook. I would not rush out to buy a new computer until that one broke, because number one, and I think we're all in agreement here, you never buy the first generation of anything, right?
Right.
I always buy the even number. Some people just say after 2 you can buy whatever, but never buy the first generation of everything. That's basically a beta. Okay. The other issue is that when they come out with Apple computers with ARM, they're still, my understanding is they're still going to be making a few Intel Macs as well. The problem is if you don't trust the first ARM and you need a new computer, well, then you buy an Intel Mac, but who knows how long they're going to support those, because eventually Intel's just not going to be in the Apple atmosphere at all. So that's a really tricky question. So my answer was, if you just want a new computer, or if you're just like me and you get excited and I always have the newest iPhone, I am not going to run out and get the first generation Apple on ARM. I will probably get the second generation because I think they'll have all the kinks worked out. The benefits to me are a lot like the benefits of moving your church out of a movie theater and building your own building.
Right.
You have lots of restrictions because you don't own the building, and you're reliant on the facilities and the upkeep and the maintenance that the building does. For example, your bathroom goes out of order. You can't call the plumber as the church leasing the property. You have to wait till the manager or owner of the movie theater does that, and you're on their time. And it's kind of like Mac is restricted to its processing power to whatever Intel puts out. And my understanding is that the optimization and the innovation and the improvements of Intel chips really sloped and plateaued and just really hasn't gone up anymore. Whereas Apple, from what I've heard, the iPad Pro, a whatever Bionic processor, is pretty much on par with Intel now.
Yeah.
And so Apple can just innovate and just ramp up theirs without having to wait for Intel. That's kind of like moving into your own church building. Now you're in control. You can knock down walls. You can call maintenance. You can do whatever you want, and they can optimize. And the reason I love Mac is because it just, I mean, I know it's cliche, but it just works, and it works really fast, and I don't have to piece together pieces. And I know for some people that's part of the experience, and the customization is part of the fun, and you can build a beastie computer for cheaper, and you have more control over the environment. But then, in my experience, you have to fight the software to get it to work. Whereas I know I'm spending an Apple luxury tax. I know that I'm not getting everything that I could possibly get for my money. But I like to be able to sit down and work. I like to be able to, without doing anything, click copy on my computer, and I can paste that link on my phone because I am fully in the environment. I don't have to download any extra software or do any extra configurations. Everything just kind of works within itself. And I'm a spoiled brat, and I will pay for that privilege. And I know I'm missing out on a lot of stuff. I just don't have the FOMO there. If that's not you, respect to you. You do you, okay? But for me, I'm in that environment. So as far as the next computer, should we buy the first Apple on ARM? I say no. If your computer breaks, then you're going to have to decide, do you want to go with an Intel Mac? That probably won't be supported. So you're normally a Mac, you might get 5 to 7 to 8 years out of it, 10 if you pay really good, close attention and take care of it. If you buy an Intel Mac, you might be buying another Mac within less than 5 years. If you buy an ARM Mac, you're just going to have to deal with some stuff and keep an eye on firmware updates. And again, you might be ready to buy another Mac in another 5 years. I always remember my youth pastor, or not my youth pastor, but my boss, who was a youth pastor, bought the first iPad with Retina display. And he had nothing but problems with it. I mean, it would overheat. The battery life was terrible. It was awful.
The iPad 3 was like that.
It was the iPad. Yeah, it was iPad 3 with Retina.
No, the iPad 3 was between the iPad 2 and I guess they changed it at that point to iPad Air and then iPad. But the iPad 3 was the one that was kind of the
Anyways, I remember it was
wonky.
the first Retina display, and he had nothing but problems with it.
Right.
And because again, it was the first generation of something with Retina.
Yep. So basically, when it comes for me, I look for the right tool to do the right job. And I also want to be fiscally responsible. So, that's why my primary streaming platform is a Windows platform, because I'm using, vMix. That doesn't mean that we don't support Ecamm. We love Ecamm because there's a giant, there's a giant hole in the live streaming space for Macs. There's, Wirecast, which is like really heavy as far as overhead goes. It's fine software. It's just kind of heavy. And then there's I don't know what I'm doing, OBS, and Ecamm is like right in the space. So, whatever tool that you need to use, you need to be on that platform. Justin, you're right. There is a luxury tax for Apple stuff. So if you build that into your budget and everybody's okay with overpaying for stuff, depending on how you look at it, then go for it. In my case, I look at it as a migration for myself, ultimately away from the Mac platform in total, because I really like OS 10. I really like the OS. I like the way it works. I like the way the shortcuts work. I like the just the little interface tweaks and stuff. I like the look and feel and the ergonomics and all that of it. So much so that I'm on a Hackintosh. So I built my own spec'd out Intel system and have put the software, the operating system software on it, and I'm using it, and I love it. Now, the question is going to come, and I can tell you the question's probably already been answered. ARM stuff, as it grows and all that, is going to become more and more and more and more available. It's not going to be that Apple is the only people on the planet that have access to the ARM chips. Not going to be the case, because Google's using them, and whoever else is making Chromebooks and all that sort of stuff. So ARM development is gonna go up. And if I decide to do another Hackintosh, it will probably end up being an ARM-based Hackintosh. I won't necessarily do any kind of dual booting in it and stuff. However, you can, because Windows 10 supports the ARM architecture as well as the x86 architecture. So you can buy an ARM-based, really cheap laptop that is running Windows 10. Windows 10 on a small scale, Windows 10 on a big scale. So ARM's not going anywhere. It's just going to grow. It's just going to be Intel, AMD, or ARM, And then, my question, guys, is the ARM architecture, are the Qualcomm chips ARM based? Because now you got someone else who's using it. That's something I don't understand. Is Qualcomm completely different? Because those Snapdragons and all that sort of stuff, all that stuff is out there, and people are developing. That's just another platform that, say the Linux and Chrome and all that sort of stuff. Chromebooks are running on those as well. So are our Android phones and stuff like that. So who knows? Anyway,
yeah. Where this comes in with the church stuff, I like getting a Mac for the media booth because you get the quality, you get the ProPresenter works better, although that's changing now. But you also lose a lot because your staff or your volunteers just don't know how to work Macs, and you cause a lot of frustration for them.
They're all using PCs.
So I don't automatically say get a Mac for the booth, but that's my preference. But I've been on a team where I said, no one here knows how to use Mac, and I've got 2 people that are going to actively fight me, and I'm going to spend a lot of time and mental bandwidth getting them trained and okay with it. So we're just going to stick with PC, and we're going to stick with Easy Worship or whatever it was. If you are looking for a Mac, like I said, me personally, I pay the luxury tax because I can work faster on a Mac. I just don't have as much technical distractions because I know everything's going to work, and I buy the Apple plan, and I have a lot of security there, so I don't have to worry about things. When you get to our level, and it depends on the enjoyment too. I do not enjoy working on computers. I will pay the luxury tax so I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. I still have my issues and everything. But if you're looking at a new computer, honestly, if my Mac broke and all I could do is buy an old Intel Mac or a new ARM Mac, I'd probably buy a Windows laptop or something just to get me through a couple years and then invest in a nicer ARM Mac. So that's going to be up to you. And this is where kind of a dialogue will help. This is why we have CTA Insiders, where we meet 4 times a month. We can talk through your issues and how you need to approach different purchases and stuff like that. churchtrainingacademy.com/join. But I think there's some exciting stuff to look forward to with Apple on ARM and all that coming up. It can make it cheaper. It can make it faster. I think it's really exciting. And of course, they're setting the trend. So don't be surprised if Windows and Android follow suit.
And with that, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We have had a good discussion. We did not cover everything that we want to cover in here. There's a lot more that we'll do, and we'll hit it at some other point. We actually went down a really good rabbit trail with TikTok and some of the privacy concerns and the theory and stuff like that. And I think that was definitely worth pursuing. In fact, I'm going to prevail on Justin. He doesn't know this yet. I'm going to prevail on Justin to actually do some TikTok how-to content to help get you guys up to speed on using that platform. So anyway, take everything that you've learned and use it to go change lives. We will see you guys in the next video.